needs to be done, and we get on and do the job. So, yeah, we're ready to go.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that. When I heard about the formation of the British Freedom Party in the early days before the troubles that you've had, I thought this is good. I was still there. One of Nick Griffin's attack dogs, if you like, one of the more savage attack dogs. I represent my part in that. And one second. Yep. I know he's asking all the questions. He's your views on the EDL, Gary.
Right, well, I mean, the EDL is very typical of what you will find in any country where the political parties, the political leaders of a country, totally disregard the wills and the wishes of the people. The EDL have an extremely strong case for being in existence. I understand why they're there. There are serious problems about Islamification. Yeah, I mean, all I would ask the EDL to do is to make sure that it doesn't get violent, because all that will happen is that the media and the political elites will attack them even more. Whenever you hear on the news any news channel talking about the EDL, they always call them an extreme right-wing party or an extreme right-wing organisation. No, they're not. They are the British people expressing their frustrations at being ignored. So yeah, you know, I understand why the EDL is there. They need a party to represent them in Parliament, and they haven't got it. And those politicians that are in Parliament, they don't want to listen. The reason why they don't want to listen is because they can't act on the wishes and the demands of the EDL as long as we're in the European Union. This whole concept of us being a sovereign nation state, along with all the other countries in the European Union, is it's cake for the masses, really, isn't it? Because our sovereignty, our right to self-determination, our right to govern ourselves and for the people of this country to have the power in their own hands is being eroded on a daily basis. And all those 652 MPs in Parliament, not one of them is prepared to do anything at all to listen to the EDL or any other organisation in this country which is anti-European Union or anti-immigration, because they don't have the authority anymore to do anything about these things until we leave the European Union. And of course that's why they won't give a referendum to the people, because they would lose it. And if they lost a referendum, if they actually had to come out of the European Union, they haven't got an excuse for inactivity anymore. You know, at the moment it's, well, we understand your frustrations, but we can't do anything about it because it's in this treaty and it's that treaty. Never mind that. Politicians are supposed to represent the views, the wishes and the desires of the people of this country, not of bureaucrats in Brussels and Strasbourg. So yeah, EDL, I know why you're there, I know what you're doing, and I understand it. I haven't got a problem with that at all. All I'm saying is, watch your image, because the attack dogs will come out and they will just try and make you look like something that you're not.
Okay, well, TFI's asked a question here. Well, I think I'll answer it for you. He's saying, Mr. Marshall, would you not just be in it for the money like the rest of the traitors and egotists? I don't like the wording of that question. I think to compare nationalist politicians, genuine nationalists who work for nothing, give their time and their effort, and class them the same as the established parties, politicians, is a little bit insulting. I'm sure that if Mr. Marshall was to join the Labour Party, he'd be an MP by now. So, okay, you want to respond to that one, Mr. Marshall? Fine.
Quickly, I mean, you've basically already done it, but all I would say is I understand why people have so little faith in you know, our politicians. We've seen the scandalous behaviour that we've had from them. If I was in this for the money, I would need my bumps read, because all it's ever cost me is time and money to be a nationalist. I've never made 1 penny out of this. I have never claimed 1 penny in expenses out of this. I'm in this for the right reason. The people that I know around me are in this for the right reason. So I think what you have to understand is there are good people out here that actually want to represent the views of the electorate and not just line their own pockets.
Yeah, I think TFI realised that he phrased it wrong. He was just wondering if perhaps you might become corrupted in, say, the same way that some people are saying that Nick Griffin has been corrupted by Europe. I think that's what he actually meant to say in the first place. Families. You've got a... Can I have a sound check, please, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Families. I think you said you have 3 children. That's fantastic. I think you're going to need to get some more. Would a political party that you were part of encourage indigenous population to have more children via tax breaks, you know, family allowance, any other thing they could do to encourage our people to have more children? What about that? How do you feel about that? I was one of 5 brothers, and I feel so sorry for these families today who only have 1 child, you know. I mean, growing up with 4 other brothers was a fantastic experience. Fortunately, we didn't have any sisters because it's a 3-bedroomed house. Do you see any part ER involved in encouraging people to have more children, Gary?
Right. I mean, having children it's a very personal choice, isn't it? You can't sort of say, I think every British family should have 5 children or whatever. I mean, it's a personal choice. But what we have seen over the last few years is that not just in Britain, but across Europe and the Western world, birth rates have been dropping for quite a considerable length of time. We are falling below just normal replacement rates now. And certainly those people that do decide to have children, they're having them later in life. The simple reason for that is most households where people are working are turning into, you know, 2-wage households where the husband and the wife or the partners are having to work all the time and they have to put off having children. I think to have a fair tax system which actually appreciates people having a family, to give those tax breaks to people so they can afford to have children and have them earlier. And if they want more than 1 or 2 children, to be able to have more than 1 or 2 children. I think it's a very undervalued thing to be a parent. But again, this is a huge cultural change that which has happened across the Western world in the last 30, 40 years, and it has to be reversed. And if people want to have 3, 4, 5 children because they love having a big family, not just to make money out of the state, but because they actually want to have children, they should have the right to have those children. The children that we have now, they are the future of the country. So if we have enough children so that our populations aren't dropping, our indigenous population numbers aren't dropping, and they have a decent standard of living and they are taught decent values, and they are taught their culture and their heritage and their history and feel proud to be British again, rather than being told you should be ashamed of being British. In another 1, 2 generations, we could have an amazingly good society again. It's all down to education and appreciating the people of this country. And they're not appreciated. They're not appreciated by the powers that be at the moment. And that has to be changed.
In agreement with you there. My brother Gary's got one son. Fine boy, fine boy. But my brother would have liked to have had more, but unfortunately, as he said, working, he could never afford to have any more children, with the mother working and himself, so just the one child. And you're absolutely right, just a few generations we could have a new, young, well, I hate to use the word, vibrant, a young, youthful population, which would preclude the need or the government's excuses to bring into other people. We've got illegal wars, Gary. We've got the European Union. We've got uncontrolled immigration. This, if there was to be a new party, what would you see as a premier policy? This is from Tyler. He just wondered what your premier policy would be. I know they're all major points, Gary, but which one matters most to you?
Crikey. As you say, that there are several that immediately spring to mind. But I suppose because so many other problems are as a result of it, I would probably have to say the European Union has got to be probably at the top of the list. I mean, we are involved in these ridiculous illegal wars, which we're just going from one to another all the time. You know, we keep being told that we've got no money, we can't afford this, we've got to have cuts, our taxes have got to go up, and yet we're fighting wars all over the place, and now we're getting sucked into Libya. And I would love to see us out of there and out of all of these Middle Eastern countries as soon as possible. But that's just one issue. So yeah, I suppose really the European Union, because there's so much comes from that. You know, it costs us a fortune to be members. We've lost control of our borders. We're losing control of our country. So many laws are now made in Europe or have to be ratified in Europe before we can put them on the statute books over here. So yeah, the European Union, I suppose.
Yeah, I listened to their thinking, and I was thinking about them all. I think the European Union would be one of the priorities. Quilp read a book with a character called Quilpin. He's asking what you mean by saying that you want a, quotes, moderate national party. I'm not sure I remember you saying that, but he asked the question, so I have to honour it. Just what do you mean by a moderate national party, Gary?
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I did actually say that. I said it was to be a modern, moderate nationalist party. What do I mean by moderate? I mean no extremist views. I mean no going along ethno-nationalism, because that will never work in this country. The British electorate will never go for an ethno-nationalist policy. I think if we work along the lines that if you are obviously indigenous British, or if you are an immigrant who has come to this country and adopted our way of life and integrated into society, and you make a contribution to society, then we should accept those people as our fellow countrymen. I know there are a lot of people who would still like to see this country return back to the way it was prior to 1948. You've got to be realistic. It's never going to happen. You know, whether you want it or not, it will not happen. What we've got to do is remember. It was only about 3 or 4 weeks ago that study came out that showed, you know, the majority of people would vote for a nationalist or a right-wing party if they lost the imagery and everything else, and they steered clear of any violence. But that wasn't just indigenous people. That was settled, integrated communities as well that are sick to death of seeing mass immigration. And when I'm talking about moderate policies, I'm talking about policies which will engage with people across different ethnic backgrounds, different structure in society. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're working class, middle class, or upper class, or whatever. If you get the imagery right, if you get the language right, if you get the policies right, then not everybody. This is something that Lee Barnes didn't understand when I was trying to explain it to him in that Skype conversation. I'm not saying that everybody in the country will ever agree on a political party or a policy. But if you